If you've ever wondered how you can pay for all of your tools without going overboard, because let's face it, sometimes we can go a little overboard when it comes to paying for tech, this video is for you. I'm going to break down my own personal financial system and how I fit my tools, my tech into my budget without overwhelm, without thinking about it, without getting frustrated. And yes, I pay myself. Yes, I have a little money left over. So let's get into it. Now, before I start, I've got to preface this video with the fact that I am not a financial advisor. I am a systems strategist. So if we've never met, Carmen here, systems strategist for educators turned entrepreneurs. Now, like I said, I am not a financial advisor. I am not a accountant, any of those things. So take my advice with a grain of salt. If you are a solopreneur, take what I'm going to share and make it work for you. If you have a CFO and all of those financial people in your business on your team, then definitely take this information to them and make sure that you create a system that works for you and your business. That's what I want you to get out of this, is that you have to create a system that works for you and your business. Everything that I'm going to share works for me and it works for my business. So in my business, I use the Profit First system. If you're unfamiliar with Profit First is a financial system created by Mike Michalowicz. And I don't know, it's something about the numbers, the percentages that just do something for me personally. Now, I also want to say that I've used Profit First for a long time. I've had it unautomated in a cute little spreadsheet, which did not work for me. But now that I have everything automated when it comes to my Profit First allocations, honey, it's giving chef's kiss. So if you can automate this, automate this. When it comes to automating my finances, I actually use a online bank called Bluevine, and they allow me to create the sub accounts that I'm going to share with you in just a minute. They also allow me to automate the transfers into those sub accounts so that once money is deposited into my account, I don't have to think about where it's going. I don't have to think about, oh, wait a minute, I got this percentage and this is all I can use on my tech. I don't have to think about, oh, wait a minute, I got to pay myself, so let me hurry up and do none of that. So here's how it goes. You ready? I'm going to pull the iPad screen up. Bloop, there it is. And let's get into it. All right. So these are my personal Profit First allocations. I don't do it exactly the way he shares it in the book. I have percentages again that work for me and my business. So let's begin. If you read the book, he's going to recommend that you give yourself 50% depending on how much you make in your business. When it comes to me and my business, I start by giving, paying my tithes. And so, of course, that is 10%. Now, let's say that this is all based on a $1,000 transaction. Let's do some real numbers in here, okay? So if I were giving, so I had a transaction that I received for $1,000. It's going to be automatically deposited into my Bluevine account. It's going to sit there in my main checking account for the day, and then that evening it's going to do some math for me where I don't have to think about it. It's going to split all of my percentages for me. So of course that 1,000 is going to then deposit 10% or $100 right into the tithe account so that I can give that back to the Lord. And then I pay myself out of this account 40%. That is for me. That is called owner's pay. So again, out of our $1,000, that would be $400. Now, one thing that I do with my owner's pay account is I let it sit there, and it will sit there until Sunday or Monday, at which point I will go in and manually transfer whatever is in my owner's pay to my personal banking account so that I am paying myself. And When it gets to my personal account, yes, I have different buckets and things for it to go once we get there, but this is where we go from here. Keeping it moving, I set aside 5% for profit. That means at the end of the quarter, whatever is left or whatever is in that profit account at the end of the quarter, that gets divvied up. So there are a couple of things that I choose to do with my profit, whether it's buying something for my business. That could also be just giving my own self a bonus. That could also be investing in the experience. Any of those things can be done with the profit account. When it comes to profit, though, I don't take the whole thing. So on the last day of the quarter, I look and see what is available in that profit account. I split it in half, and then I take that half and do whatever it is I feel like doing with it. So at 5%, of course, that would be $50 out of my 1,000 that we've gotten here. Okay. Also, keeping it moving, I take another 5% and I am setting aside money for coaching and mentorship. That's something that's very important to me to keep my personal development going and growing and my business growing. So I do set aside money from each transaction to help pay for coaching. I used to pay for coaching out of my personal account, and that got a little messy for me personally. So making sure that I set that money to the side is super important to me. I also take 10% and set it aside for taxes. And that way, when tax time comes around, it's time to pay my taxes. I already have money set aside from each transaction to pay the taxes that is due there. And then finally, the other largest chunk is my operating expenses. Now, when somebody asks me about all the technology that I use in my business and where it comes from or how I only spend a certain amount of money on technology, it's because I know exactly how much is in this operating expense budget. And because I know how much is in this operating expense budget, then I can not go over that. So eventually, this budget is where a team will get paid for from. So when I'm ready to bring on a VA or I'm ready to bring on more permanent positions in my business, they're coming out of operating expenses. Therefore, I don't get to a point where I'm not paying myself. I don't get to a point where I'm not saving for coaching, where I'm not getting to a point where I am not building my profit. Everything can come right here out of this operating expense account. So again, when people ask me, Carmen, how do you not spend all your money on tools and tech? Well, it's because even though I am a tool and tech girl, okay, it's because I have that operating expense account, which sets a boundary for me. I see that there's only 300 there. I know that I cannot go over that with the tools and the tech that I allow myself to pay for. So that is how I budget and manage my own finances and my own business. Of course, you could make this work for you and the business that you are running. Most people that I know of don't take money out from Tithes and they don't take money out for coaching and mentorship. So those things would, skew the numbers just a little bit. I actually took that 5% for coaching from my operating expenses budget. I said to myself, this is something that's important to me, but I wanted to come out of operating expenses. I needed a clear boundary for it. That is why it came from operating expenses. So operating expenses was 5%. Was 35%. Now it's 30%, and I have that 5% for coaching. The most people don't take out for tithe, so they would just take the 50% for owner's pay. Again, it is important to me that I tithe from my own business, so I take that 10%. If you're wondering what tools and what tech is available to you where you can give your clients a premium experience for not a whole lot of money. I call it freemium. You want to give them a freemium experience. Keep watching. Watch this next video where I'm going to break down my favorite tech tools, my favorite freemium tech tools. Thanks for watching. I'll see you over in the next video.